Welcome to Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Alan Valancourt.
And I'm Karen Valancourt.
And today we're looking at 878 Vikings, Invasions of England.
It's the age of Vikings. For years, these Norsemen have attacked England, raiding the coastline and wreaking havoc on the villages. But now they are poised to enter the country. Will the English be able to defend themselves? It's up to you in 878 Vikings, Invasions of England.
878 Vikings is put out by Academy Games, one of my favorite publishers, and the producers of the Conflict of Heroes series. It's a 2 to 4 player historical war game with area control, dice rolling, and lots of cool minis. Gameplay takes approximately 1 to 2 hours. The components for this game include a game board featuring a map of England, an assortment of plastic minis representing the various factions in the game, both Viking and English leader cards and standees, Viking control markers and a round marker, faction decks, battle dice, and player turn cubes with a drawstring bag.
To begin the game, the players will choose factions. There are 4 of them, 2 English, Thane and Housecarl, and 2 Viking, the Norsemen and Berserkers. All 4 factions must be played, so if you have fewer than 4 players, at least one person will be playing with more than one faction. Each faction has a unique deck of cards consisting of movement, event, and treaty cards. Players will shuffle them to form a draw deck, taking 3 to form their opening hands. Next, English units will be placed in various locations around the map, and the Viking leader, with his great heathen host, will be set near the board, ready to invade during the first round. Reinforcements are placed in easily accessible areas, and the round marker and Viking control markers are put in their designated locations. The black turn cube is set out, and the remainder are put into the bag. Now the game is set, and it's time to begin.
The game usually lasts 5 to 7 rounds, each round consisting of 4 turns, 1 for each faction. There are 5 phases to each turn. The reinforcement phase is when reinforcement units are placed in various locations on the board. The leader phase, when leaders and their units move and battle according to what card has been played. Then the movement phase is when units without leaders move according to what card has been played. Followed by the battle phase, when units meet in the same shire and battle dice must be rolled and resolved. And finally, the draw phase, when a faction's turn is over and the player draws back up to 3 cards. The next turn cube is drawn from the bag, and that faction will begin its turn.
The cards are an interesting mechanic for this game. Movement cards tell you how many armies you may move and how far you may move them. Event cards help you or hinder your opponent in various ways. And each faction has a Treaty of Wedmore card that, once played, may trigger the end of the game.
There are several ways to win. 1, if 14 or more Viking control markers are in any city shires at the end of any round, the Vikings win.
Or 2, if there are no Viking control markers anywhere on the map, the English win.
Lastly, if both Treaty of Wedmore cards from either the Viking or the English factions have been played after the 5th, 6th, or if it's the 7th round, the Vikings win with 9 or more control markers on the map.
Or the English win with 8 or fewer.
There's quite a bit of strategy involved with Vikings. If you're the Vikings, you need to decide where to invade. Do you go straight for the heart of England? Or do you invade where the English armies are less of a factor? You have to be careful to balance your attacks so you don't overstretch your armies and leave gaps. As a Viking, you will not get another invasion force until the next round.
If you are playing as the English, do you stay on the defense and build up strength, or do you set out aggressively to wear down your enemies? The English do have the benefit of the Fyrds. Think of them as expendable buffer units, but you only get them when defending. If you want to win, though, you can't let the Vikings gain too much control.
One thing I liked about the game was the depth of strategy available to the player. There's a little bit of luck when it comes to the combat dice rolling, but knowing when to play your event cards or which movement army card to play, that's up to you. All lend their hand to different strategies.
To be honest, I'm not usually much of a war game person. I was not excited about this game. I kind of envisioned something like a dice fest like Risk, and I was like, great. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. The cards added a nice mechanic, and I really liked the event cards. It added little twists here and there. And with the Treaty of Wedmore cards, there's always an attainable goal in view. So the game goes by much more quickly than you anticipate.
One thing that is both a pro and a con is the game turn cubes. On the pro side, it's a great way to keep the turns random and a little unexpected. It can make planning challenging, but it's still fun. On the con side, sometimes it's a really long time between turns. For example, you might go first in one round and last in the next. Still, overall, they are a good thing.
Regarding that, I think I personally preferred playing 2-player rather than 4-player. Although 4-player was fun, I liked having full control over both factions. And with 4 players, you do have access to both cards. You can see them all, but you have to agree on what you want to do. And our game playing styles are very different. We don't always agree on what's next.
Yeah, I like to be more aggressive, while Karen likes to be patient. But one more last big pro, the historical aspect. The game booklet itself has an entire section about this period of history and the men and women that the game centers around. And there are a couple of additional scenarios based on actual events that players can try.
So who's this game for? Well, I'd say that anyone who enjoys strategy games would enjoy this game, even if you like lighter strategy games, kind of like me.
Yes, if you pretty much like anything that Academy Games puts out, or if you like lighter, historically themed tactical strategy games, or even war games for your inner grognard, then this game, which also has an expansion available, is for you. So head to your local game store and pick up 878 Vikings Invasions of England today. Welcome to Tantrum House Studio D. Sorry. No, we are
Get your
D.
name right.
I thought no, we were supposed to say welcome to Tantrum House Studio D.
You got it.
You got it.
I know.
You
I
said
meant
that.
in my mind I was supposed to say Studio B.
No, D.
So
Or
I
Del.
know.
D.
I
Del.
know.
He's
I was like, oh yeah, she's good.